Superman just popped into theaters, and we thought the perfect way to celebrate is to talk about the only horror Superman movie we have ever gotten, which is Brightburn. Today we're going to be grave digging into all things spooky superheroes, and then we're going to give you our full breakdown of Brightburn.
In an overcrowded graveyard, the scream will rise. Ghoulmates Entertainment presents Not Another Spooky Podcast.
Welcome back to Not Another Spooky Podcast, where we watch horror movies and talk about all the spooky things they make us think about. Think of it as spooky in the front,
horror in the back.
I'm Mandy Spooks.
And I'm Rabbit Loves Horror. We're just two lifelong besties keeping the spook alive, one bloody popcorn bucket at a time.
Today we're grave digging into all the Superman vibes, but with a horror twist, and then we'll review Brightburn in the second half of the episode. To set the vibe for this episode, we're going to start off with a little game of Bone, Marry, Slash. Oh! Okay, I think we deserve a really good round of Bone, Marry, Slash for ourselves. So I was like, you know what? We're never going to get to have a moment like this in horror again. So we're going to do a round of Superman.
Yeah, I saw this list and it's what I imagined you would do this week. I was like,
really?
She's going to pick all the Supermans and I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah, I was like, it was hard because I like a lot of the TV ones, but I was like, okay, maybe if I narrow it down to like the most recent movie ones, it'll make it easier. And hopefully we have an excuse to do the TV ones another time. So we have Henry Cavill. I never know how to say his name because my mom says Cavill and I know that's wrong.
No, you said it right. Henry Cavill.
Okay. Henry Cavill, Brandon Routh, and David Cornsweet is the new Superman. So you go first. The honor is yours.
Okay. So this is hard because I really like Henry Cavill. I mean, who doesn't? And I had the biggest crush on Brandon Routh for the longest time.
Really?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
From, I think from Scott Pilgrim. I think he's one of the villains in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And he had like a bleached blonde hair. And I had the biggest crush on him. And then he turned to Superman. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I think it was a long, long time ago. And I was like, oh, dang, he's so pretty. So, but Henry Cavill is just what you think of when you think of like the perfect man.
Yeah.
And he's a gamer. So I think I'm going to have to marry Henry Cavill, bone Brandon Routh, and kill David Cornsweet. Only because I don't know him yet. So we're still getting to know each other. So
I was thinking that. I was like, maybe we should have waited till after Superman came out for this one, but no, it's okay. All right. Well, I would slash Brandon. Sorry, he just does not do it for me in any sense.
You were so mean.
I know. I had no idea you were such a fan. And then bone David because I don't really know him yet. That could switch. Maybe next week I'll do a follow-up on whether or not I'm switching my lineup. And then, of course, marry Henry Cavill. He's not one of my favorite people, honestly, like of like celebrities that I would love a chance with. Mm-hmm. But from the list, like, yeah, I mean, he's attractive. I'm not going to lie. He's just not one of my favorites. But I had no idea he was a gamer.
Yeah, supposedly he plays a video game that I would play, and he also played the character that I played. So I was like, oh, match made in heaven.
That's funny. All right, let's get into some
haunted housekeeping.
Okay, so I realized that we don't really promote what time our episodes premiere because I figured you all just listen whenever you're ready to. But in case you were curious and would like some clarity, the podcast does premiere on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts on Mondays at 4 a.m. Pacific time. And then it premieres on YouTube that same day on Monday, but at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And that's just because typically based on best practices, no one's watching YouTube earlier in the day. So that's the reason we put it out, to hopefully give it a better chance of performing better when it first comes out. And then I also wanted to ask you guys once again, and like a spooky broken record, a haunted record, if you could please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or rate us on Spotify. It would really help push our show out to more people.
Yes, I have nothing else to add, but just yes, please. Thank you.
Wait, I guess a nice update though is we fixed our TikTok.
Oh, yes. So our TikTok is sort of fixed. I feel like last week we were uploading, it was only giving us like 2 views each video.
It was
2
crazy.
to 4 views. It was so rude. But then this week, I guess it forgave us, or you guys went out and kind of like looked at our TikTok and it helped. So it's working now.
Yeah, for sure. Thankfully. Oh, that was stressful. All right, let's get into the Scream Sheet, our weekly breakdown of what has us shrieking with excitement. So I am a huge fan of the animated film The Book of Life by Jorge R. Gutierrez. It's a movie about Dia de los Muertos, and I am still bitter that Coco is so popular because The Book of Life did it first. Just saying.
They
But
did.
anyway, the creator has a new project called El Guapo versus the Narco Vampires. It's an independent adult animation pilot inspired by Mexican cinema from the 50s to 70s that usually featured a luchador fighting the forces of evil like vampires, mummies, and werewolves. Hello! Count me in.
Interesting.
Yeah. The promotion says, "Welcome to Mexploitation Extravaganza, a hilariously violent and action-packed tale of death, redemption, tequila, and more death." And to that I say, bring it on. There is no date yet, but it says coming soon. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like something I would like, but because I trust him so much, I'm super excited about it.
That sounds really funny. I like that they included tequila in the
Yeah.
description. So that sounds really funny. I think I would like to check it out with you. Is it in theaters or is kind of like a streaming movie?
From what I'm gathering, since it says animation pilot, I think it's gonna be like a show, a series.
Oh, I missed that.
And I have a theory it's probably gonna be on Netflix. So I found out he also has like other stuff on Netflix too, like Maya and the something. I forgot what it's called. So I'm probably gonna check it out because I loved Book of Life so much.
Yeah, Book of Life is really, really cool. The visuals are so nice in that movie. So definitely, if you haven't seen it and you really like Coco, go watch that movie because it's visually so nice and the story's good too.
For sure. What are you shrieking about this week?
So this week we were sent a screener on Instagram for us to watch. Do you want to explain what a screener is? I don't know if everybody knows what that is because I just barely found out what that meant.
So I've never called it that before. I mean, I've never heard it called that before, but it makes sense. So when a indie film is trying to get word out about their film, they'll send screeners like a free viewing version of it, I guess, like a link or something for you to download so that you can watch it. And they'll send it out to, of course, like platforms that'll help push out to their audiences, which is what happened here. They offered it to us and Rabbit had the time and was willing to check it out. So I told them yes. I didn't have the time, unfortunately. So
It's okay. No, I watched it. It was a fun watch. It's very gory, very sexual, and had a few unsettling visuals. It's called They Will Come Blood. It's about a group of friends in their early 20s that stumble across a brothel or like a underground club to explore fetishes, but with a twist. So if you want to do the deed and then get stabbed to death, they can arrange that. The film is non-linear, so the story jumps from timelines to timelines, storylines to storylines, but it all kind of comes together in this one night of chaos, I guess you can say. There are 2 other storylines that play into this, and then there's something in the basement that gets released, and things get even crazier. So if that sounds interesting to you, it's actually only available on Blu-ray, so you can't see it in theaters, and you can't stream it. But I will say again, this is not for everybody. It's definitely not a movie you put on with your kids, so this is a movie that you put Timmy and Tammy in bed, and then you go watch with your partner at the couch, because it's crazy.
and steamy from what I'm gathering.
Yes.
You had me at spicy, so I'm intrigued. I might end up watching it at some point if I have a chance.
You should.
Okay, so when you sent me your notes, I thought because I know I'm the one who like arranged it, and I'm so sorry I didn't pay attention to the name of the movie. So I thought that your headline was "They Will Come Blood," and I was like, "Dang, Rabbit, that is so out of character for you." And I didn't realize that's the actual name of the movie.
No, that's the name of the movie. So that kind of gives you an example of what you're getting into. So
Okay,
yeah, They Will
I
Come Blood.
think I missed out on this one. All right, Ghosters, it's time for our favorite chat of the week, Keeping the Spook Alive.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, Rabbit, how are you keeping the spook alive?
Alrighty, so this week, in addition to watching that movie, we also finished the Paranormal Activity series. We watched the final movie on Sunday. We're kind of calling it or Michael called it our Sunday Scary. So we watched a scary movie every Sunday night before the week. And it was really bad. The latest one's really bad. It completely threw out the format of Paranormal Activity and kind of felt like a spin-off instead of like a continuation of the story or an addition to the story. So it was total spin-off. The feel, the vibes, everything was pretty different. So if you were expecting a Paranormal Activity movie from this last one, don't, because it's completely different. And then on top of that, we went to Downtown Disney because they released some Disney Halloween t-shirts. They were released, I believe, like 4, but I bought one and I'm wearing it right now.
It's
So if
so
you're on
cute.
YouTube, you can see it says "Let's Go Ghouls" and it has like all the girlies from Disney and their costumes. I mainly got this one because of Clarabelle. And Clarabelle is for the girls, the gays, and the theys. So I had to get this shirt and I really love it. How about you?
It's funny because as soon as I asked you, I was like, oh, shoot, I ain't got nothing. I feel like Mandy Spooks actually finally took a vacation over 4th of July weekend. I don't know. I've just been so happy about summer and going to the pool. So I spent a lot of time in the pool. But I guess like the only spooky thing was watching this movie, of course, because even with not going, so we went to, oh, wait, I do have something and I planned it and I forgot. We went to go see the Jurassic Park movie. And when we were watching the trailers, I was like, it feels so weird to not be at a horror movie right now because we are huge moviegoers. Like, we love going to the movies, even if it's not horror. But because we started this podcast, it became harder to keep up with other movies. But Mr. Spooks was dying to watch this one, so we went. And I felt so out of, like, was disoriented almost. Like, I couldn't even focus in the first act of the movie because I was just like, this is not a horror movie. It's weird. But then in Act 2, I was like, okay, this is giving me the same anxiety as a horror movie.
Really?
Yeah, there was so much action with the dinosaurs. After, like, the first act is a very long setup with way too much dialogue and it really dragged. And I was also just like not in it, you know? But yeah, as soon as it takes off, it's like nonstop. And even like the opening scene, I was like, this is giving Final Destination, like the way they played it out. So yeah, I was like, okay, this is kind of spooky a little bit. But yeah, it's been a very summer centric week for me. And then I also went Halloween hunting for the Summerween line at Walmart because I had been holding out for that one. So I've just been living my best summer life.
That's fun. Yeah, I actually don't think I've seen any of the newer Jurassic Park movies, like the Jurassic World series. I think I've only seen the original trilogy, which I really liked. I really liked the original trilogy. And I feel like a lot of people are excited about this new one. I feel like it's all over Instagram. People are posting about it constantly. Did you like it?
I did, yeah. I hated the openings, like the first act, but the rest of the movie made up for it. I was like, that was really fun.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I am interested. That's funny that you say that you felt out of place watching another movie instead of a horror movie, Because I'm wondering if it's going to be the same way when I watch Superman this week. Because I'm very excited for Superman. I love comic book movies. I think they're so fun. So I'm very curious to see how I feel about Superman.
I know. I'm glad, I guess, that I like got that over with because I'm also very excited about Superman. And it also happened like the movie was right after we got our auditions for the short film.
Oh,
So
yes.
I also like literally me and Rudy were like reviewing them and talking and then ran late for the movie. And then the whole opening, I was just like, oh my God, and what about this? And what about that? Like I was just still thinking about the short film. So I'm glad that I'll be in a much like more clear space when I go to Superman this
True,
weekend.
true. Yeah.
All right, Goldsters, it's time to get into the spooky mood for today's main event of Brightburn. So Slash is in session. Okay, so ever since Brightburn came out, I kept thinking, why hasn't the subgenre of superhero horror taken off? It seems like an obvious path, and the subgenre keeps trying to crawl out of the grave but never fully rises. Brightburn gave us Evil Superman, Chronicle asks what happens when angsty teens get powers, and The Boys shows us just how terrifying a corrupt hero can be. So why hasn't superhero horror become its own thriving genre? Here's my hot take. Superheroes give us hope, especially in a world that often feels like it's falling apart. There are modern myths, and when horror tries to twist them, it hits a nerve. Not just because it's scary, but because it's cynical. Maybe we're not ready to watch our icons become the villain, or maybe we are, but only in small doses. Because horror loves to ask, what if? And in the case of superheroes, that what if might be too real, especially now more than ever in this very crazy world we're living in. So if you'll allow me to fangirl for just a second, I do want to add that while the superhero horror genre hasn't taken off, I do think that the new Superman will thrive because as a DC girly, I have to say America needs Superman more than ever. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Yes,
Who's
we need
writing that?
Superman right now.
I know. And as a PS, this is being filmed prior to the release, as you guys heard, so don't come for me if I'm wrong and it flopped. But I really hope it does it. I really
I don't think it will.
America needs Superman right there.
Yeah, I think we're at least I'm excited. You seem like you're excited. I think everybody is very excited for this movie to come out.
Yeah, for sure. It gave me a reason to proudly wear red again. Okay, so that brings me to today's spooky question of the day. Which superhero would be the absolute scariest to you if they turned evil?
So some of my favorite superheroes are the X-Men. So my top 3 are Rogue, Storm, and Jubilee. So I was thinking between them 3, which one would be the scariest if one of them turned evil. I'm going to have to go with Storm. I feel like she would be a really scary villain because she can control the weather and we would probably never see daylight ever again. She'll just constant clouds, constant storms, constant hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever else you can think of. And it just does not sound pleasant.
That's fair.
What about you?
I'm surprised because I thought you were going to say mine. I think the Flash would be really scary because he can like really mess with you with like how quick he is. And you know, I don't like paranormal things and I feel like that's very paranormal-y. And with him being able to like mess up timelines and stuff, I don't know. I feel like things could get really crazy if he wants to mess with people.
That's true. I feel like he can really mess one person's life up really badly. But I feel like Storm could do so much damage to a huge group of people that I think that scares me a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really does make sense, honestly. But I guess for me, it goes back to that whole, like, you know how to, like, try to stay safe in a storm. But I feel
True,
like
yeah.
the Flash messes with you psychologically. Like, that sounds crazy, like madness. So, yeah. But no, they both make sense. I had no idea where you were going to go with yours. That was interesting. All right, Goldsters, it's time for the spoiler pack segment of the show. So if you don't want spoilers, this is your warning to turn back now and come hang out with us once you've seen the movie. What are we streaming and screaming to this week, Rabbit?
Alrighty, so this week we are streaming and screaming to Brightburn, which came out in 2019. It is not a certified fresh movie, but has an audience rating of 67%, which I feel is fair. It's kind of right in the middle. The summary is, after a difficult struggle with fertility, Tori Breyer's dreams of motherhood come true with the arrival of a mysterious baby boy. Brandon appears to be everything Tori and her husband Kyle ever wanted: bright, talented, and curious about the world. But as Brandon nears puberty, powerful darkness manifests within him. He gains super strength, super speed, flight, and heat vision. Brandon begins to act on his twisted urges, killing off people in the small farm town he lives in. His parents catch on and try to stop him with his very own kryptonite, but he ends up killing them both in the end. Scary. It was directed by Brandon Yarovesky and produced by James Gunn, which I want to pause here because we were watching Scream Queens when I was visiting you in Denver, and James Gunn was like the host or one of the co-hosts, or guest judges, whatever he is. And then he's doing the new Superman movie. And have you seen him? Like how different he looks?
No, I haven't. Let me see.
He really grew into himself.
That's funny.
I'm like, okay, James Gunn.
Oh yeah, that does not look like the person we were watching on Scream Queens.
I know. He looked like a nerdy little guy, and now he's just like this respectable older man.
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna bring up the whole Superman thing too, because I was like, okay, he clearly loves Superman and horror.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we'll get to it later. But yeah, the screenwriters or the screenplay was written by David Yarovesky, Brian Gunn, and Mark Gunn. I'm not sure if those are people related to James Gunn. I actually did not look that up. But I mean, they're spelled the same way, so maybe.
Yeah, my assumption would be probably.
The cast. So we have Elizabeth Banks playing Tori Breyer, which is Effie Trinket. That's how I know her. And then we have Jackson A. Dunn playing Brandon Breyer or Brightburn. And then we have David Denman playing Kyle Breyer, which is the dad. So my initial reactions, this movie was so fun. It was nice just going back to a popcorn horror movie where we just got some scary scenes, some crazy kills, and I don't know, it just felt like a classic 2000s-ish horror movie to me. What about you?
I'm so relieved, honestly. I was like, he's either gonna love this or hate it, because it was my pick. I have to admit, I didn't love it as much as I thought I originally did, but I still think it's an interesting take on Superman. Like, it is definitely a must watch, like, at least once.
Yes.
And it definitely got me excited about Superman, so my whole point was served.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess we'll get into the tone and the atmosphere. So it felt really like they were creating like a superhero origin film, but instead of it being a hero, you put a serial killer into the main character's place. And that's pretty much what this movie felt like to me, is a serial killer becomes or gets superhero powers.
That was so interesting to me that you leaned so heavy into the serial killer stuff, because even when we were texting, I needed like a clarification about a part in the movie, and you explained, you were like, I think it's just more of a serial killer thing, and I was like, okay, I did not pick up on that. Like, I get it, but it's an interesting takeaway that you had, so that was pretty cool. I didn't get that vibe. At first, I couldn't even get into it this second time. I watched it when it originally came out in theaters, but this time around, it felt exactly like Smallville in the opening. So it was, again, really like, what the heck? Another movie that's not horror for me. Yeah. But then it like switched, so we'll talk more about that. But I was really surprised that you took away this whole serial killer theme from it.
Yeah, I'll get into the writing and pacing, because I have a whole explanation of why I feel like he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
But for the direction and cinematography, kind of like what I said before, I really feel like it was shot like a superhero movie. So there was scenes where he was flying around and the camera kind of couldn't keep up with him because he was flying so fast. But then that also added to the horror movie of it because it was kind of like a blur. And they also created some really creepy scenes with him kind of like peeking behind the curtain in that little girl's room, which was very scary. Felt like a classic, horror movie jump scare kind of thing. And then it felt like when he was in the room with that girl and he just disappeared, it felt kind of like Spider-Man, like a Spider-Man movie where he just like poop, just like pops out of nowhere and like disappears right away. So it definitely mixed in horror and superhero movie perfectly for me. The final scene was also really nice. Where I really like oh my gosh, I really like the cinematography where he took his mom up to the atmosphere and he kind of just dropped her, and then you just see him floating, kind of like it's like a superhero pose. Him just floating in the air with his cape, kind of like waving in the distance, and he's supposed to look, or it's supposed to be a heroic shot, but you just saw him do like the worst thing he could ever do, which is kill your mother.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get into it more, but I have thoughts on that scene too. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I always love how we pick up different things because for me, I feel like it was a hot minute since I had something like valuable of cinematography to share. But this one was really cool because like I said, opening up, it legit felt like a Smallville, like straight up superhero movie. And that's why I wasn't vibing with it, because I was just like, oh, like they really set it up to feel like a normal non-horror movie. And then they shifted the cinematography approach once he becomes evil. Like the tones got darker. They even had like a vignette over everything. And it was just moodier with like lots of contrast. And then I really, really loved the usage of red and blue in the movie. Like even before he puts his blanket, he uses his blanket as the cape, and like the red pops so nicely, like when he's using it as an actual blanket, and you're already like, there's like those Superman tones. So I loved how they did like use the shift in cinematography and also the Superman colors to tell the story.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the things that you were saying before, so I like that you brought that up, like the vignettes and all that, but I guess that's not because my eye doesn't look for those kind of things, I guess. So I'm just like enjoying the movie. So I like that you brought that up, because now that I'm thinking about it, it did get a little darker as the movie went on. Like it was kind of hard to see in some scenes, like what am I supposed to be looking at, or why is it so dark right now? But I mean, it makes sense because he's turning more evil and evil as the movie goes on. Which I'll get into the writing and the pacing. I thought it was actually kind of good. I didn't feel like it dragged on for me. I really felt like it included situations where it would kind of like set him off. And I feel that's how a child would respond. And throughout the movie, I like slowly was starting to hate this kid. Like somebody needs to do something now. Somebody needs to find the kryptonite because he needs to be stopped. Especially when he crushed that girl's hand. So if you haven't seen the movie, there's a scene where they're doing like a trust fall situation and he falls to the ground, and the girl he has a crush on, the coach tells her to pick him up, like help pick him up, like extend her hand to help get him up. And she extends her hand and he's mad at her for whatever reason, and he crushes her hand.
But he's mad at her because she lets him fall. Did you miss that?
I don't know. I would have let him fall
said,
too. Well,
but yeah, she legitimately let him fall though, because she's like grossed out and scared of him because she knows he was in her room, and so they toss him to her and she's like, ew, and she gets away from him and like
he deserved it. What is he doing in her room?
He does deserve it, but also like I get why he was mad.
No, he deserved worse. He shouldn't be in that little girl's room like that.
That's true.
But yeah, when that scene happened, I was like, somebody do something about this kid. Because I cannot, like, how the mother was so frustrated with the father. I was so frustrated too. I was like, you're just gonna let him get suspended and then let him go back to school? He just mangled that poor little girl's hand. But I do like that they wrote his character on how a typical serial killer is described when you like watch a crime story, when you watch a documentary. Describes how they are as children. So it starts with like weird interests. So they found like the little book or little magazines of like the girls naked or whatever, but then also like just strange photography of, I don't even know what it was. Then it goes into killing animals, which leads to killing people. And then when he does kill people, he leaves a signature at each of the murder scenes. So he was turned into like a psychotic serial killer in my eyes. Those are all serial killer traits, or how we describe a serial killer.
What? Did I miss something though? Like, what did he start off with weird interests in?
The photography. Remember when they pulled the little magazines out of under his bed and he had the girls in there, but there was also like weird pictures of, I don't know, it was like gory stuff, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just strange that he was hiding these gory pictures under his bed. So for me, that's weird interests.
Now, I legit don't remember that scene. I was folding laundry, to be fair, so I feel like I must have missed it. So thank you for explaining that part. But yeah, it does make sense. And I just think it's hilarious that he left his little like signature on everything.
I know, like, kid, what are you doing? Which, immature, but also serial killer vibes.
Yeah. I don't have honestly, I don't have much to say. Like I said, I thought that the beginning was a little slow because you know me, I don't have a good memory about things. There's only one thing that I really remembered from this movie. So the beginning felt like a little bit slow, and I don't know if it was just that whole like it was feeling not like a horror movie or what. So it's not even a real criticism because I can't identify what it was that I wasn't vibing with. But overall, I think it's good. Like, I don't have any complaints, but I have a lot to say about the casting, the characters.
Okay, perfect. Let's get into it. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I really hated all the characters in this.
They were all terrible.
Yeah, okay, so first, the mom, Elizabeth Banks. I'm so sorry, but she did not pass my Courtney Cox rule. So I think this is the first time it comes up in this podcast. I'm not sure, but I have a rule that an actor is not a good actor if you can't forget who they are while you're watching them in a movie. And Courtney Cox is like the perfect example for me because she is Monica from Friends. And when you're watching that, you're never like, oh, this is Gale Weathers, or you're like aware of it. And then when you're watching Scream, you're not like, that's Monica from Friends. You're like always in the moment with whoever she's playing. Ryan Reynolds is one of those that like no matter what I'm watching, that is Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
So I could not get past the fact that Elizabeth Banks was the girl from Pitch Perfect. Like the whole time I was like, that's the Pitch Perfect girl. And I just did not buy any of it. Like, she just seemed like a cookie cutter mom that was like, but I love my kid and I'm always here for you. I don't know. And also she was annoying, but then the dad was annoying, and like everybody in this movie was annoying. The only one who was right the whole time was the little girl. She freaking told everyone he's a pervert, he's a weirdo, I don't trust him, and nobody listened to her.
Yeah, the parents were just clueless. I'm like, what are y'all doing? But like, screw your head on right. Like, you're not understanding what's happening right in front of your eyes. But I will say that the kid, Jackson Dunn, who played, I guess, Brightburn, he is a creepy, creepy kid. I really believed every line he said. Like, I felt it. I like that he was so manipulative towards his mother because he knew that he could get away with things. But when he would like switch with his dad, or he would switch with like the little girl, yeah, he was just so stern and serious when he would speak to them. So I thought the little kid did a really good job.
Yeah, he was very, what's the word? Like the mean things he would say so matter of factly.
Mm-hmm.
like, which was crazy and really interesting for me because like we're so used to seeing Superman in like a good light that you realize that Superman's just really always on his best behavior because in reality, like he literally could take over the world, or like this kid just has this like confidence of like whatever I say goes, and if it doesn't, then I'll make it that way. And it's very like it's different from like unapologetic energy. It was just very like you're not gonna do this, or you're not gonna call the cops, or you're gonna film this with me, like it was just very, I don't even know. So yeah, he was a very good actor. I'll give him props for that. And I also forgot to say that the dad is Roy from The Office, and I feel like he just doesn't give off like tough vibes either. Like he has the build for it, but I didn't believe he was like a tough dad either.
Yeah, I see that. And I also agree kind of with Elizabeth Banks because they both felt like they were comedians. Are they comedians? I'm not sure. But they're like in funny roles previously. And that's kind of like what I saw in the movie. Like, oh, those are like the people that are funny. But they're not just funny in this movie.
Yeah.
But I actually really felt bad for the Elizabeth Banks character, just thinking of like what she went through, not being able to conceive children and having this gift from the sky given to her. So I really felt for her. And then at the end, when he ends up killing her, she still had that look of love. Like she would just look at him and just like, oh, I love you so much. And that was kind of sad for me because he's literally a face only a mother could love, because that is one scary kid.
I was thinking a lot about the dynamic when like the mom and the dad were arguing about it. And I was remembering how like the trope in horror is always like the guy never believes the girl. But in this case, it was kind of flipped because the mom doesn't believe the dad that there could be something wrong with the boy. And I'm just like, is this even, I was like, okay, I will not say that I know what this feels like, but I would imagine that even if you want a baby really bad, and you've tried all your resources, that like a foreign alien child landing in a really crazy unidentified object would give you major signals like this is not a good idea. This is not a baby. Like, I don't think Rudy would even entertain the idea. He'd be like, are you freaking crazy? We're calling the government right now to handle this for us.
Yeah, he would not be okay with that. And I would agree with him. Get that child out of your house. But then he'd probably kill me like he killed the family friend with the car crash scene. So maybe I wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, you know what? This is your deal. That's your son.
I'm just going to play nice.
Which, funnily enough, gets us into our next topic, the kills and scares, because I thought the kills were really good. Like I said, it was nice just sitting back and watching a movie that just does crazy kills again. The best two kills, in my opinion, were the waitress. So when the waitress is closing up the restaurant, he kind of terrorizes her a little bit, but then breaks the luminescent bulb in the ceiling, and a piece of the glass goes straight into her eye. And then she just starts pulling it out. I'm like, what are you doing? Just leave it in there. Call for help. But she pulls the whole thing out, and she pretty much, her eye bleeds out, and then she gets murdered. And then the second one was when he kills the family friend. He's trying to drive him back to his house, but he obviously flies out and picks up the vehicle with his mind powers and drops the vehicle, like nosedives the vehicle into the ground, which has the man hit the steering wheel with his jaw, and his jaw just like dislocates, and you see it all. Like he's literally laying on the ground, his jaw is hanging off to the side, and he's trying to like put it back, and he like slowly dying, and he's just watching this all happen. And I'm like, that is one demented. child.
Yeah, so the eye scene is the one that I was telling you, like there was one scene that never left my brain. Like it's
Really?
very rare that I remember things from movies, especially since 2019. Like I've lived a whole different life since then. I became Mandy Spooks in that time. Which funny enough, I saw this movie during that like Mandy's Magic Summer when my ankle was broken and I was trying to do spooky things to like not be depressed. So I was like, oh, this is a full circle moment for me. But yeah, that eye scene always stayed with me because when I saw that scene in theaters, I was like, that was gnarly. Like, I freaking loved it. So that was the only scene I remembered. I think I will remember the car scene in the future, though, because, like, that was crazy. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about, like, the mom's kill scene because hers is the only one that isn't really shown. Like, the actual death of it isn't shown. And I thought it was really interesting because I'm always paying attention now to, like, how are kills portrayed on screen because I was mind blown when I learned that they don't actually show the scene of like someone being killed. There's cuts and you've identified that before, but I had never really paid attention to those things. And so now I'm always really aware of like how fast do the kills happen? Do they show it? Do they not? And this one, they really let it breathe. And they didn't actually show her dying because I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, are they going to show her like just crushing to the floor or something? And they never show it. And so I was reading more about like endings explained and all this. And I saw that it seems like it was very intentional because that moment was meant to show that that was like his last attachment to humanity in a way, that he's like letting go of like the most precious human to him in the world. But then it could also be taken as like the final test for her to prove that she's the mom, because it's kind of like, if you are my real mother, then you'll fly too. So I was like, oh, that's really deep. So it was interesting to see how all the deaths in this movie were like really crazy. But then with the moms, they really like slowed it down. Like they saw you, like they take you up with her, like they're showing them going up, and they even pause before they let her go. And so it's just like really long compared to like your typical kill scene. So I thought that was really interesting and like just another form of storytelling I hadn't unlocked in my brain to see like, oh, you could like add symbolism into the way you kill people by not making it gnarly and just making it more slow and impactful that way.
Yeah. Now that you bring it up, yeah, because I feel like he tortured everyone else or brutally hurt other people. Like he crushing the girl's hand, forcibly crashing the car. I forgot how he killed the dad. I don't remember what he did.
The laser eyes. But then they like eyes. Show it going through his head. It's right, crazy.
Yeah, the laser eyes through the face. And with his mom, he didn't, I guess he did, but he didn't initiate the kill. He just like let her go and let her die as she fell to the ground. So that is interesting, where he maybe still felt a little, there was like a little bit of love there. Like, I can't do it. I can't kill you myself, but I'll just take you as high as I can go and let you go.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting point.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I heard that. But yeah, the double, like, I think letting go of her made sense, but the whole, like, proving that you're the mother is also, like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah. Very sad for her. But
yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the practical effects and CGI. I have no complaints about this. Everything looked legit to me. I really actually enjoy all the gore in this movie and all the death scenes. I wish, not to bring Megan up again, but I wish the people that created Megan would just watch this movie and see this is what we want. We want crazy death. We want crazy gore. And yeah, take notes.
I agree. I was thinking that the whole time when we were talking about the kills. I was just like, this is what we wanted with Megan. So in a way, it's nice we had this right after a week that wasn't very kill worthy, but I agree. And in general, I feel like most of the movies we've seen have not hit this level of gore with their kills. Other than Final Destination, that one's like untouchable. That was nuts. But in general, I don't feel like horror is very focused on that kind of stuff lately. At least not the mainstream horror in theaters.
No, yeah. The same thing for me. I was trying to think like, what other movie have we seen that has been this gory? And really it's just Final Destination, but that's what that movie's known for. And all the other horror movies we've seen, it's pretty much all off-screen kills. Maybe some in Clown in the Cornfield. Maybe that was
a little bit.
A little gory, but still not at this level for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Alrighty, so let's get into the themes and symbolisms of this movie. I really feel that it was another coming-of-age story. It used puberty as the switch for everything. So right when he hit that age, his body starts changing, his mentality starts changing, literally turning into a terrible, moody monster, I guess you can say. So I do like that they kind of played on that trope of coming of age, puberty story, but turning evil.
Yeah, no, that's a good takeaway. It's so funny because I've seen this movie before, but this one really had me, I mentioned this earlier, as far as like not realizing how superheroes are constantly having to put on like their best behavior to just fit in, which is crazy. It's like freaking like witches and vampires and everything always trying to blend in, which I had never really thought of it that way. And it also made me realize too that it could also just be a commentary on how like there is a power imbalance naturally within people, and when it goes unchecked, crazy things can happen. And I feel like it fits perfectly with the world today. Too much power within the wrong person without the right like morals can end up very badly. So now I'm really curious to see what Superman is about, because we tend to see a lot of commentary in movies, and I don't know that there's been such a crazy political landscape with superhero premieres in the past. So I'm really curious to see if they lean into it or if they're going to try to like keep it as vague as possible.
I don't think so. I think they're going to really lean into that because I've been seeing a lot of discussions about it and some people being very upset that it's kind of pushing a certain agenda. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. But yeah, I will just add to what you said about the power imbalances. You know, absolute power always leads to corruption.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's get into our final wrap-up, final thoughts. One thing that we didn't talk about this whole time was costume design. I really liked his costume. It felt realistic in the lens of where a 12-year-old would make a costume. So it was just like a knit sweater material, I guess you can say. It had like badly cut eye holes and a shoelace or a couple of shoelaces here and there holding it all together. And those are all items that he probably had accessible in his room. So I really love that they kind of put thought into it on how would a kid dress as a supervillain. And it was terrifying. The whole glowing eyes was terrifying. The shape of the mask where it kind of was longer towards the chin area.
I know, that part was weird to me.
Very creepy. It felt like a gas mask almost. Because like the big old eyes and the long breathing tube, I guess you can say. So it just mimicked that shape and it was very creepy. And I loved like the ratted cape or the ratted knit fabric. It was good.
I agree. I really like the costume, and I really love how they show you. I almost want to watch it again to see if we see other parts of the costume, because I know the blanket was the first thing I saw. I was like, oh, that red pop was nice, and then I was like, wait, I think that's what he ends up using for the cape, and I'm pretty sure. So it's cool that he used like his own blanket to make the cape. But yeah, I agree. I thought the costume design was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think we're ever going to get a sequel, but it really looked like they left it open for it to become a sequel. So at the end of the movie, they had kind of like the end of times coming about where people were kind of like reporting about it on the news. But then there were also some reporters on like YouTuber conspiracy videos kind of talking about the end of times coming and he showed like different sketches of different monsters in the world, and there was like a screaming girl looking kind of thing, and there was some other stuff on the screen that he was showing, and I was like, that would have been cool if we got to see like what is it, a Marvel a Marvel franchise out of this Brightburn movie, and just seeing all these crazy, scary superheroes / supervillains come to life on screen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that James Gunn was hoping for that when he did this, from what I've heard. But what I find so crazy is that this movie just like flew under the radar. Like Mr. Spooks knew about it and wanted to go because obviously like he loves superhero movies and horror, and he was like, this is a no-brainer, which was why we went. But I feel like in general, I've never heard anyone mention this movie outside of me and Mr. Spooks. Like never once have I seen it come up in the horror community at all. And it's just crazy to me because I'm like, it was such a cool concept, and it sucks. I don't know if it was maybe too like before its time, that it came
Maybe.
out, because horror wasn't as big as it is now. But I also don't know if it was like poor marketing or what, because like, why hadn't you seen it? It's like the perfect movie you guys would want to go see. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. I don't remember if I watched it or not. I guess that's why it got forgotten. Because I do remember seeing trailers for this movie in the theaters, but then after that, it kind of just fizzled, and nobody ever talked about it, or I felt like I never saw anybody talk about it. I'm sure they did, but it just kind of like fizzled out. And I honestly, I don't remember if I've seen this movie or not, because some scenes did look familiar, but then I don't know if I'm just remembering the trailer. So I don't
Yeah.
know if I've actually seen this movie before, which is kind of sad, because I want to see the other villains or that he had in mind, or at least maybe he can talk about it somewhere. Or
Yeah,
release, like that cut, the 5-hour cut of a random movie.
we need what did Man of Steel call it?
The
Or
Snyder
no,
cut.
was it Man of Steel? The Snyder Cut. Yeah. Oh, and I love Zack Snyder too, but that's a story for another day. All right, Ghosters, it's time for It's Freaking Bats. Okay, I'm really curious about this one. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how many bats would you rate this film, Rabbit?
Okay, so I will say I really liked this film, but I understand that it's not the greatest of films. So I will give it a 3.5 bats.
Dang,
Only
3.5?
3 because I liked it, but 0.5 because I really liked the themes of it.
Okay, that's fair. Um,
What do you give it?
I think I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Which is so funny because I was so excited to rewatch this and bring it up, and I still stand by my decision. I think it was like a great topic. I'm even more excited now for Superman. But I don't know. Watching it a second time, I was kind of like, I think once was enough.
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. I guess it's also just because like I don't like any of the actors. The characters are all annoying. And then the kid is also just like not likable, which is good because he did his job, but it just wasn't like fun for me to watch. And I was comparing it to, I was thinking like, well, I gave Megan 2.0 3 stars. And I'm like, you know what? But I had fun. I would watch it again versus this one. I was really struggling to watch it through the second time.
Really? Oh, well, I don't know. I think I just really like the horror aspect of it, and that just got me excited.
Yeah.
So maybe my rating will
No.
go down in the coming days when I think about it more.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I stand by it though. I think it's a must watch for everyone, especially anyone who likes superheroes a lot, to just experience it once because you don't ever really see that side of superhero storytelling. And it does have really cool gnarly scenes, so it's at least worthy of one watch.
Yeah.
Okay, and before we part ways for the week, let's have a little moment of Be Kind Rewind. We're all about the vibes here, so if this film hit just right, here are a few spooky picks you can rewind to match the mood, the madness, or the mayhem. What's your pick, Rabbit?
So I don't actually have a pick for this movie.
It was hard.
It's hard. I can't think of another superhero villain except for like The Boys, but that's a whole series, and I really liked. I think I've seen like the first 2 seasons maybe, and that's a really good show. But I can't think of anything. Maybe I'll just go back to our trivia and just go watch Brandon Routh again on Scott Pilgrim versus the World. What about you?
That's fair. Same, honestly. I was like, there's nothing really like this, which is also partly why it's not enjoyable because it doesn't feel familiar. But like actual superheroes and spooky vibes, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was
Yes.
like a pivotal moment for me as a spooky girl. I was like, for a second, I really thought they were going to serve us even more spooky superhero stuff, but it was dead on arrival. Like I said, for some reason, spooky and superheroes just don't go. And I think it makes sense to me why subconsciously it's like two opposing things for people. One is like comfort, hopeful, optimistic, and the other is I love anxiety, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I see that.
but that one was really cool. Like it had really cool spooky scenes in it. So that's going to be like the closest I think you can get to a superhero horror film.
Yeah, 100% agree. I totally forgot about this movie, but I love Wanda, and all of her scenes were very horror-esque. So when she starts killing everybody in that like hall, very horrific. And yeah, and also WandaVision. I loved WandaVision too. So yeah, just go watch Wanda. Wanda's great. She's a
Yeah.
super villain superhero.
I remember seeing Doctor Strange and thinking like, I'm really shocked that Disney allowed this in a PG-13 movie. Like it was some really dark themes. So
It was
yeah,
really good. I liked it personally.
I'm ready to watch both in WandaVision again. So all right, Ghoulsters, we hope you had a bloody good time hanging out with us. We're watching Jaws this weekend. Finally getting Rabbit to watch Jaws. He's a first timer. So I'm
Yes.
super excited about that. And we'll see you here next Monday with our freshly popped horror review. And oops, my bad. You can 3, 2, 1 it.
3, 2, 1. And remember, keep horror alive and watch something spooky this weekend.
Until next time, sending you ghouls and kisses. Bye.
Bye.